Good morning once again. Thank you so much for being with us and keeping it with us on UBC TV. Well, in case you've just joined, this is Good Morning Uganda. It is a morning show every weekday from 6:30. We are here. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono, and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda, which is a segment within Good Morning Uganda. Now, today, we are going to be focusing on the current security situation in the country. There's been a spell of a bit of uncertainties, regrettable incidents, right from the shooting of former Minister of State for Labour, Charles Ngola, by his own bodyguard. Then we saw recently again the shooting of an Asian money or businessman just here next to Parliament by a police constable. But of course, even we saw a shooting in Buziga that involved Okonge, that is Rukulinanganda, that involved a security guard from a private company, still shooting to death another. And maybe there could be also one or two that I have not mentioned, or maybe that may not have caught so much of public attention. So joining me today is Brigadier General Felix Kulaije, a man I've known for some time, who is very passionate about the security situation of this country, and also very God-fearing. But also on the other side, there is one thing that unites us together, is we are both so passionate, we are so much into dog breeding, and we love those animals so much. Brigadier.
Yes, sir.
Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Kirabo.
How have you been?
By the grace of God, terrific. Top form. I can never be physically better. And deeply loved by the Lord.
Amen.
Yes.
Are you still so fond of many languages, or now some you no longer
I think with the age, some are what is it? Expiring. I don't know. I still try to gamble. I'm not as I was 15, 20 years ago.
You were very, my friend.
Where I was fluent in 9 different languages. Now, I think we must be fair to God, even the brain begins to exclude some. Yes. But I am blessed. How are you doing?
I've been fine.
Good morning, Uganda.
Very interesting. Now, I'm happy to have you, by the way.
Thank you.
Every time I know I'm going to host you, there are so many memories, but also I just enjoy knowing how we are standing as a country. Because I always tell people, believe it or not, security is the driver of almost everything.
It's the rock. It's the bedrock of development. We are able to move from one point to the other because there is security. The businessmen are able to wake up in the morning, open their businesses because there is security. I was listening to BBC as I was coming here, and a businessman from Sudan is now talking from across the border in Egypt. And they were asking about whether they will be able to pay salaries. And they said, for us, we're able to pay April, but May we will not, because they are not working. So security is almost, if not all, the bedrock of life. When a bird begins flying from the mother's nest, the first thing it does is to build its own security. When a leopard enters a cave to rest, it does not rest facing inside. It turns the head to the entrance. Security. So, anybody who has light thoughts about the importance of security had better think. As you started, there have been several murders, and everyone was saying, are we safe? But you know, sadly, but it's a fact, people have been dying both in this country and elsewhere, murdered by their own family members every day. But because they don't get the same publicity, we never get to know. Yesterday, a friend of mine was in Adwari, that's in Lango, burying a brother-in-law. Killed by who? His own brother over land. And the disputes over land, disputes over family members, wives or spouses, are happening on a daily basis. Like I say, the difference, no publicity. So we have gotten alarmed because of the publicity that incident in Chanja received, or Laxis. Both of these inevitably attracted high attention because of social media.
Now, Fande, that was said about social media, but we must agree, as Uganda, we've had deaths, shootings, but the most were unidentified gunmen. You know, those we could say they could be UPD, ADF, remnants, the different explanations you've given us. But what is unique about these murders, apart from the Isma Olex, the famous blogger, may he so rest in eternal peace, is why these seem to have threatened people? Is these are people holding guns legally, not illegally, but legally. These are trained people to protect who they again turn their guns against, or even protect the wananchi. So that is the uniqueness now, that we are running away from men on border and identified, they struck them, to now a trained soldier, to now a trained police officer, to now a trained private security guard.
I understand, and I appreciate the panic in the public. But like I said, because as you may know, one of the most prominent members in our households now is the TV. The things we see, the things we hear, influence our lives. So what has been given prominence more? Negative news. All right? Just allow me to pick the incident in Chanja. The fact is, everybody had scattered. Nobody was near to hear what Sabiti said. But the video maker created the narrative about welfare, about dates, about what. And it has become the narrative indeed being discussed across the country. This person, not even a journalist, has set a national agenda. That's how important the media is. In fact, Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State of the US, under Nixon, said, and I want to try to paraphrase or quote, that a transistor radio has more devastating effects than a squadron of B-52 bombers. Now, a B-52 bomber is the world's largest jet fighter. It can fly from its base in USA, bomb Beijing. No other jet fighter can do it. They must rest on a ship. For it can fly that long range and come back. Now, each one of them carries 20 nuclear bombs. Now, a squadron has 14. Do the mathematics and see the damage. But despite that devastating power it has, Kissinger said a transistor radio has more devastating effect than a whole squadron. Now, what about today with social media? You can see how it has happened. Olaxis gained popularity because of what is on social media. So the point I'm making, there is a high multiplier effect in communication today than ever before. So whereas these murders or killings have happened before, these ones got a lot of publicity because of social media. So what I want to emphasize that don't worry. As long as you're on this earth, these challenges will be there. Now, trained people, a bodyguard.
Yes.
Jesus was betrayed by one of his own. You know, we tend to forget that what happened in the past will happen again. Not just can.
But these are centuries.
Exactly. But the devil has never left. Kirabo, we are not yet in heaven. And man is essentially bad. That's what I wanted to say it. Go to Jeremiah 17:9. In fact, in Jeremiah 17:5, he says, "Cursed is he who trusts Son of Man." That is God, not me. God is the one who said it.
But now here we are looking at professionalization.
I'm coming.
Son of Man could be, but this is Son of Man that goes through a training, Son of Man that has a duty to perform. Say, I'm a journalist by profession. When I sit on TV here, you said media is that, and for us we believe the pen is mightier than a sword.
Yeah, I do.
I could choose to use this platform and be very destructive. But because I underwent a training, years at campus studying the ethical code of conduct and all these, I did course units, I know what I'm supposed to do as a professional journalist because I went through that training. Now, going back to the armed forces, there's something we expect. For example, that never shall a person who is mandated to protect a principle turn again a gun against the principle. If that, we should be able to know why did this happen. And then, just as we are talking about police, then the same, security guards, there must be a problem that we must address rather than believing, yes, these can be, there is evilness and all that. Where are we going wrong?
That question I will answer very nicely, I believe. But for starters, the different killers are a testimony indeed to a bigger problem than institutions.
Okay.
The one killed in Adwari was killed by a civilian, his own brother, because of
Land.
a perishable thing called land, because we're going to leave it here. Security guard. Another security guard in Arua was gunned down on duty. So it's testimony of a big problem. And I will answer it. Two, that will give us the reason or the explanation why you are increasingly seeing less professionalism. And by the way, across society. Can you imagine a doctor plucking drip off a patient because he had demanded for money from this patient who could not raise it? Another professional, or maybe even who accepted less influence, doctor, accepts to do surgery on this patient, puts drip, and the fellow doctor plucks them off. The Hippocratic oath, like mine, is about protecting life. But the doctor has done that. Therefore, the patient has died. That criminality exists. Because, like, again, I was referring to Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful, despicably deceitful. In fact, the Uganda version says, Omutima mulwadde. The late Professor Kajubi, before he died, he told one of his sons, Mwana wange, kutereka ebintu bisatu. I'm leaving you with three things. One, abantu babi, people are bad. Two, bw'osanganga amazima mu kkubo gagule. When you find the truth on the way, please buy it. And three, tya Katonda, fear God. So, if wisdom has shown that people are inherently bad, that's why we have laws. Number one. Two, that's why we have mechanical training of discipline in the security forces. Now the NRA-APDF added another conscious discipline from political education. In Kiswahili we call it siasa. Here in Kampala you think siasa is lying to you so that you can be soothed. No. Siasa means telling somebody the truth and giving reasons why. Now, our code of conduct number 1, never abuse or back or beat a civilian. That's our code of conduct number 1. Now, if I am supposed to respect you to the extent of not abusing you, not to back at you, and I'm glad I've never backed at anybody in my 35 years of service, it means killing is not even unthinkable. And an example was set for us in the bush when Zabroni killed a civilian. He was executed.
Yes.
In public.
I've read that famous story.
Now, but today, we have made the Sabit a hero. This is what makes me get worried. For you are worried about this. I'm worried about the dying of our society. Because somebody who has left the earth, that one has gone. But a dying society is very, very dangerous to the country. And that's where what you're asking me, what has gone wrong?
Yes.
You see,
and I want to be more specific, Afande, when you talk of what has been wrong. You talked about, I think, rule number 1 in the Army Code. This I must let you know, and I know you. These are realities you follow. You're one person I know who follows almost everything that goes on social media, church, everywhere. When we talk about UPDF as an institution, we see a bit of staggering in terms of upholding the image, upholding the respect of mankind. You call him Mwananchi.
yes.
If we are to look at 2 or 3 decades back, good, you've been in the forces for some time, and I know you agree with me, Afande, don't you notice a general level of decreasing in terms of respect to Wananchi, level in terms of reducing in how the character, the behavior of men and women in uniform today?
Mr. Kirabo, you are in the answer itself. In Masaka we say, the general decline you are talking about is evident. But I've been arguing with you, I've been telling you, it's a society issue. Check out, see, there are things expected of certain professions. In the army, you're taught discipline. Like, yes, sir. Even when he's actually not respecting you, but he will say yes, sir. And like I've said, NRA and UPDF added addressing the conscience. What religion does, what faith does, that addresses your conscience. Now, the political education in UPDF addresses both the brain and the conscience. The mechanical discipline addresses the heart. You obey. For you to be comfortable, you must follow the law. But in this one, we tell you, you are a serviceman with a mission. A mission to serve the vision of your senior commander. That's why even when I'm writing my estimate process for war, I must have the order, mission. My first question is, what is my superior commander's intent? Ayagarachi. So my superior commander's intent, in this case, the commander-in-chief, wants me to promote good relations with the people of Uganda. It's number 1. Because the people of Uganda are the ones that I serve. And therefore, even when I'm going to war, I must give them the reason why we are going to war. It's not pack your bags, board the aircraft and go. No. Why should Uganda fight this war? Hence, I will fight knowing I'm fighting I'm fighting a just war. Now, these built us as NRA, now UPDF. And if there was a shortage of anything, the political commissar, the commander, will tell me, Chama Chinapanga, the army is planning. And indeed, the army is planning. We were able to understand that you can't get everything you require at the same time. And so, you wait as long as you have food to eat, because that one is not compromisable. And in many occasions, we walked with the bare knees, torn uniforms, but we executed defense of this country. It's important for us to note, therefore, that whereas that was 80s, 90s, early 2000s, you are talking about people who joined the army for a non-personal purpose, service to country. But there are also others who joined because they wanted to revenge on someone who had affected their families. But the political education eventually converted them.
Converted them, yes.
But this was building on a foundation. This is what we must not forget. Every commission, every profession builds on a family foundation.
Now, you've talked about a foundation, and I look at UPDF now as a two-generational force.
Three.
Three. You have the people who went to the bush.
Yes.
The remaining few. Those went for service.
They went out of anger against the situation which was happening.
Against the situation. Today, we have the Bapakasi.
Correct.
In UPDF.
Absolutely.
I've studied. I want a job.
And a job that will give me a car, a house.
And I've come to work.
Right.
This is where the element of welfare comes in. That if I didn't come because of those reasons, then I must meet my expectations. There have been a number of claims. Of course, we know army will not come out to demonstrate, to protest. That would be a mutiny. People that in there, they're dying slowly. Their welfare is not being catered for. Some of these actions that we see armed men doing or carrying out is because they are squeezed to the extent that's out of frustration. They don't have voices like the doctors do. So how are you handling this? Because siasa will work, but to an extent. I may have food, but if my children are going to school and I can't desert, it's a complicated situation there.
Thank you, Mr. Kirabo. There are certain facts we must not ignore. What I was building was to show you the reason why it's not only about Wapakas versus servicemen, it's also about upbringing. I told you, I will answer your question, but let me start from the foundation I talked about. If this building did not have a strong foundation, wind will take it down. A storm will take it down. Now a storm in one's life are the challenges you meet. How were you built to face challenges of the world? In our young days, you are always told the world is challenging. And so, you are given values that will control the extent of the pressure onto you. For example, and that's why you find that in many countries, in Uganda is where people struggle to build fast. You are only recognized that you are a man when you had your own house. Among the Basamia of Eastern Uganda, once a boy clocks 15, he must put up his own hut. The essence is to instill in this young man a sense of personal responsibility. You are responsible for yourself. Now you are on a hut, not your father overlooking your shoulder. How do you handle security, for example? How do you handle yourself? Because now you are semi-independent. Seniorly, you grew up knowing there will be a challenge, but as a man, I must face this. Now, in 10 years, today, you have young men, people with beards like you, but they are children at heart. They are children in the spirit. For two reasons. Either neglected by their father, because he was not there because he didn't want, but because he was taken away by assignments. Not there because he chose, he ran away from his responsibility. Now, this absence of a father denies the training of leadership. Like it or not, men are supposed to be leaders in society, at home, in the community. But if they have not been nurtured to be in charge of their lives first and foremost, you have a baby with beards. And that's why many today will say, I'll ask my mom. Good. A man, you want to take a decision and you're asking your mother? We ask our mothers to balance up us because men are fast in decision taking. Your mother gives you another perspective to what you want to do. She does not tell you what you should do. Now, so I will ask my mom syndrome is almost across this country now. So they are not men enough to withstand the challenges. So when he or she serves 5 years, 10 years, and he has fathered children, that's number one. And yet his expectations when he was joining have long fallen short of what he finds. I mean, they were over and above what he found. He says, I'm finished. By the way, I will tell you, the most interesting aspect of life is when you have been challenged and you overcome the challenge on your own. You're a victor. So what am I saying is that they come after, you said after education, you believe you must get a well-paying job. Now the army is not the well-paying job. The army is sacrifice. And I will not be shy to say this because I've been abused for it. Joining the army is total sacrifice. The true followers of Jesus are the men and women in this uniform. You have sacrificed your freedoms. You are now subject to military law. You have sacrificed your own life.
To die for others.
To die for others. 3, you have come expecting better pay. You find it, the pay is only 485,000. You're either able to contend with this or you go back. And there are many who desert from training school.
Afande, in this day and age, should we still look at the army in that perspective, well knowing that these are people that hold firearms? Should we still, even away from the army, because neither is it very different from police, should we still have that perspective of the armed forces being more of service, sacrifice, and all that, given how times are changing?
Sir, times are changing, I agree. Has the mission changed? The answer is no. The mission is to protect, defend the country, the constitution. 3, the profession you have joined has certain parameters, has certain limitations to you as an individual. And you cope. But we the seniors, knowing this, that's how we have mechanisms that have over time improved the welfare of the troops. We are not able to be like the public. But even then, talking about the public, how is it the rest of the country today? If you're talking about the question of welfare, we have been paid monthly. There are public servants who have not been paid for 3 months. Should they go on killing their supervisors or their superiors? That's no excuse to misbehave. You see, until we accept to listen to a parental voice like mine now, we shall continue getting lost, expecting heaven on earth when it's not possible. In our days, you carried your suitcase on the head, and a mattress, and a basin. You are going to school, from the park to the school. In our days, you would go with 20 shillings or 100 shillings as pocket money.
It had value then, I want to believe.
I'm sorry to tell you, when I was in O-level, 100 shillings would buy me a big pen.
Oh.
Yes, or a tube of toothpaste, the small one. And that's what I was given every time I went to school. Does it make me less a man than I was supposed to be?
No.
We grew up knowing not everything is available. In a certain country, I will not mention it. Today, they can get up one morning and hide margarine. And because they have a certain community, they are always fighting. They will tell the child, so that tribe took away our margarine, took away our sugar. So this child grows knowing that's an enemy. We were brought up knowing there are difficulties in life you are going to face as a person. You must respect other people. You are talking of changing times. In my time, you who is younger than me, once we would meet, you would stand and greet me, and I will answer. It is me to choose whether to give you a hand or not. Today you meet a younger man and he's shooting his hand to you. Wait a minute, who told you I want to shake your hand? The older person would be the one to offer the hand first. If he doesn't, you remain. And that's why we would hold ourselves like this and check. When I'm standing with the superior, my hands will be here.
Now, moving away from welfare, like you've said, but you mentioned, even before that, you mentioned that there are other avenues you're looking at to improve welfare away from salary. One of the things I know, I would say, maybe Wazalendo is one of the best circles.
Wazalendo Circle was introduced to instill in us a spirit of saving.
Saving?
Yes.
But
and then you have a collective source.
How do you save when you're living hand to mouth?
But that's where you go wrong.
The 480,000?
Allow me to tell you this. Wait a minute. The group employees, the support staff as we call them, in Ministry of Defense, earn 80,000 shillings per month. They have families as well. A primary school teacher, grade 5, who has children, who has a wife or a husband, earns the same amount of money as a private soldier. Diploma means he went through A-level. This person must buy himself clothes. I am able to put on this for a whole week. A teacher can't do it. Some even have to wash their shirts in the night. 2, I am supplied food. A teacher has to look for the food. 3, I have free medical care. A teacher goes to a health center and there is no medicine, there is no doctor. I have free education. There we are equal because there is UPE. But above all, this uniform, 2, some are accommodated, those who are in headquarter units, can't be compared with the other teacher. But we are in the same country. You see,
that is agreeable.
We are discussing security agencies as if they live in isolation. We are in the same
Their role and nature of work.
The difference,
slightly
allow me to do this. Where I agree with you, that's beyond the EPDF and the Ministry of Defense, the availability of army shops. Our neighbors have them. Rwanda has it, Tanzania has it, Kenya has it. Our Ministry of Finance officials have refused to remove tax on essential commodities for us. Even the building materials we have in our army shop, the Ministry of Defense pays tax on our behalf. So you have a challenge from the public service, the civil service, sorry, that still thinks you cannot afford to do a tax waiver on essential commodities in an army shop. Because that's what will save us from the pressures of going to the supermarket with you, the civilians. In Kenya, I was there for a whole year. They buy from a suite to fridges and radios from the army shop. Why is it unique here? It's not for me to answer, it's finance. But even with those means, you see, the English say, a problem shared is a problem halved. Even before this, we set up avenues of problem solving. Because we know man by nature may get stressed by both circumstances, either at home or at work. So, the establishment of the command structure is not only to give the orders downwards, it's also to enable upwards, knowing what the soldier is going through and where you can solve his problem.
How possible is that regarding rank and file, respect, loyalty under UPDF? A junior can...
The same code of conduct number 8 provides that the lower echelons must obey the upper echelons. The upper echelons must respect the lower echelons. It's code of conduct number 8. Meaning, first and foremost, in my training as a leader, officer cadet, young officer, the first emphasis, know your men more than their mothers know them. As a platoon commander, I had a notebook. And there was a page, name, date of birth, mother, father, hobbies, over that soldier. Now, the purpose of this is to know the fellow's background. Now, next, I must observe you and I keep on noting your character. Because at the end of the year, I must evaluate you. And I'm glad to say, at every level of rating my juniors, I was 98% correct. But that's me who does profiling. Naturally, I like profiling people. But mechanically, I'm supposed to have data on you and understand you. 2, I must love you because you are now my family. You are the person I live with daily. You are the person who will carry me when I fall. And so, I treat you humanly.
Theoretically, that sounds good. Practically, is it? What is happening?
Practically, it is. But practically, also, there are people who fail it. Like a father fails to do his responsibility as a parent. So there will be a commander who will not be bothered about this soldier. And the consequences are dire to him. Those are the things you are seeing. But like I said, we should not look at these events in isolation of security agencies.
Now, a quick one, because I'm saying time is flying.
Yes,
now, we've given that background and well explained there is a general social, moral decay. That is something I accept.
Correct.
But if all these are bound to happen, as security, what safeguards are you putting in place? Today, people will tell you principals fear their escorts. People will tell you today we no longer trust police officers. We fear police officers. We fear private security guards guarding us. So in such a situation, what are you doing? What should be done as we wind up?
1, more interest during training. To be purposeful in what we want to achieve at the end of the day, because it's either garbage in and garbage out, or good material in and the good material comes out. 2, increase on monitoring and evaluation, supervision. We must certainly intensify supervision to monitor some of these things. 3, yes, we must continue improving welfare in terms of the physical conditions. And that's why now we are putting up barracks across the country. Barracks is, I think, it has and want soldiers to live with their families in their organic units. But you know that is very possible during peacetime. When you are at war, as the region is, there are those challenges. 5, we must continue to lobby Parliament for increasing our pay. Because this financial year, we failed to increase it across the board because of the small envelope, resource envelope. And the promise was that the financial year 2024 revenue, it was hoped we have increased. We increased pay across the civil service, or rather the public service. And this time around, it is for captains to private. Whether this financial or next one, that will be raised as well. 5, we must continue guidance and counseling for men and women who come from mission areas, men and women who get challenges of life. As an army, we introduced a directorate of social cycle support headed by Brigadier General Dr. Chen. Ochen's job is to treat mental challenges, to deal with mental challenges. And he has a team of psychiatrists, psychologists that have been purposely recruited to beef up that directorate. We began it with Somalia, when we saw the challenges we are getting in Somalia. And what I said earlier, the bout to the valves. And then we believe that will definitely see us better. But those who come expecting to buy cars and houses, the army is not the right place to come. There it is sacrifice. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Brigadier General Felix Kulaije, the Army spokesperson. Thank you for your time and, of course, for the information. We pray and hope that the areas he has looked at as of concern and need to be addressed will be addressed. We thank the gallant men and women in uniform for the sacrifices they do to ensure Uganda is a peaceful country and our neighbors at large. See you in the next hour. Good morning.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
That's right. Insist on getting your e-receipt. It's your ticket to fantastic prizes, including motorbikes, laptops, fridges, and a fully paid 6-day safari for 2 in Uganda. Take a picture of your e-receipt, upload it to the URA website or mobile app, and you could be the lucky winner. The more receipts you upload, the higher your chances of winning. Terms and conditions apply. More details on our social media channels.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
The Champions League season, which started with the preliminary round in June last year, has just 2 games to go.